wabarakatuh. Good evening and hello and welcome everyone to the fourth webinar of 2023. My name is Dr. Azhar Talal and I am the IBH webinar coordinator. Today's webinar is about artificial intelligence and academic integrity. We are very proud to be affiliated with the Institute of ASFER, the Associations of Schools of Public Health in European region, as well as the Emirates Public Health Associations. And as you all know by now that this webinar is part of the global campaign, This is Public Health. We are organizing these webinars in order to bring experts and highlight important public health issues because we are really occupied with public health and we want to be the ambassadors of public health in the regions. Our webinar is accredited by the United Arab Emirates University as 1 CME Category 1. I will give you some housekeeping issues before we started. So if you want to ask questions, please ask by clicking on the question answer options in the middle of your screen, as you can see below. And you can submit your questions during the presentations. However, we'll try to cover all your questions at the end of the presentation during the Q&A sections. At the end of the webinar, we are going to share a link in the chat for the evaluation of the webinar. So you need to fill that evaluations link to obtain your certificate. Please write the name as you want it to be shown on the certificate and make a clear email so you can get your certificate without any technical problems. This webinar is recorded, so the recording will be posted in 2 days on the UAE YouTube channel. And to reach our channel, search on the YouTube using the Institute of Public Health CMHS. It gives me great pleasure to introduce a friend of mine who is moderating these sessions, and I want to thank her really for accepting our invitations to be the moderator of these sessions, Dr. Susan Waller. Dr. Susan is an experienced health professional educator, researcher, and curriculum designer. Dr. Susan is an assistant professor in the Department of Medical Education at the United Arab Emirates University. She coordinates the Clinical Skills Program, and she is the chair of the Student Counseling and Mentoring Committee. As an adjunct senior research fellow at Monash University in Australia, Dr. Susan continues to participate in a multi-university graduate outcome study. Dr. Susan has contributed to 23 peer-reviewed papers, 4 government reports, and 1 book chapter. So we are really honored that you accepted our invitations to be a moderators for today's sessions, Dr. Susan. And without any further ado, I think everybody is looking forward to today's presentation, so I will leave the virtual floor for you.
Thank you, Dr. Azhar, and welcome everyone to this exciting webinar. And I'd like to now introduce to you our speaker. We are really honoured that our invitation was accepted by Dr. Sonja Bjelobaba. Dr. Sonja is a researcher at the Centre for Research Ethics and Bioethics, as well as an associate professor in the Department of Modern Languages at Uppsala University in Sweden. Dr. Sonja is Vice President of the European Network for Academic Integrity, NI, and co-coordinator of the Erasmus Plus Strategic Partnerships Project, Bridging Integrity in Higher Education, Business and Society, BRIDGE. Dr. Sonja defended her thesis at the University of Gothenburg, where she, as an educational developer, taught research integrity, postgraduate supervision courses, and other courses for faculty related to teaching and learning in higher education. Dr. Sonja's research concentrates on academic and research integrity. Today, the title of her talk, as Dr. Azhar said, is on artificial intelligence and academic integrity. Thank you, Dr. Sonja. The virtual floor is yours.
Thank you so much, and thank you for welcoming me. I'm very happy to be here. Just give me a second and I will share my screen. Here it is. So I'm going to talk today about the 2 AIs. Let's see, just give me a second. So I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence and academic integrity. So first, some definitions of these 2 concepts. Usually we used to talk in academic integrity field like AI, and now we can't anymore. So I think we should find some other abbreviation. But right now, I'm just going to give you two definitions. So artificial intelligence, according to the European Commission's definition, refers to systems that appear to have intelligent behavior by analyzing their environment and taking actions with some degree of autonomy to achieve specific goals. While academic integrity can, of course, be defined in several different ways, and unfortunately, quite often we define it by pointing what's it not. We say students don't cheat, don't plagiarize, etc., which makes us focus too much on the detection of students' behavior and prohibition, what they shouldn't do. Instead, European Network for Academic Integrity has defined academic integrity as compliance with ethical and professional principles, standards, and practices by individuals or institutions in education, research, and scholarship. And suddenly, it's not only about students, it's about all of us, how we behave in academia, both when it comes to teaching, when it comes to researching, when it comes to talking about what we do in academia. So it's not only about students anymore. And this is very important. Both of these concepts are very wide, very broad, and influence not only students or some course, but basically everything what we are going to do. And artificial intelligence is coming big time, and we can't just ignore it. So why this talk today? We have just published recommendations on the ethical use of artificial intelligence in education. It came out 2 weeks ago, and I was one of the authors. So quite a large part of my talk today is going to focus on presenting these recommendations that we have written, and it was really a collective work where we engaged all our working groups together and sit down and think what we think is important for our educational institutions when it comes to the usage of AI. And one of the things we wrote in these recommendations is, if students do not have the opportunity to learn about the ethical use of AI, they will be more susceptible to engaging in inappropriate use of AI, which may constitute academic misconduct. So you see this connection between AI, artificial intelligence, and academic integrity. So AI-based tools today are coming every day. We have new tools, not one, but many, several new tools on a daily basis. And they can be used to transform and to produce and generate any kind of content, text and images and art and music and program code, lots of things that we deal with in the academia. And the one thing that is very important to distinguish is that it is not automatically cheated. If it is authorized, if it is declared, it is ethical. But we can have undeclared and unauthorized usage of the AI tools, which may be considered a form of academic misconduct if you use it without permission and if you use it without telling that you have been using it, if you try to hide it. So when it comes to AI, it's not only something that causes bad things. It's basically multiplying your abilities, and it can be used both in a good and in bad ways. So it's very important now when we encounter this new technology that students and educators should be guided on the benefits and limitations of AI, and to learn and to use artificial intelligence in an ethical way. So when it comes to authorized content generation, as I said, it's not automatically unethical, and there might be differences. You can't come with some overall definitions. What is an ethical usage of AI in education? Because there may be differences between academic disciplines, or education institutions or courses or types of assessment or cultures or regions and countries, what is considered acceptable use of AI and what is not. I think we are going to get there, but right now we simply cannot offer you some definition. This is ethical and this is unethical. But usually, if it is authorized and if it is declared, it is acceptable. That's basically what we can say. When it comes to unauthorized content generation, and that's not something new, that's not only AI. We simply were thinking when it comes to our definitions of different types of misconduct, that there are quite a lot of similarities when it comes to unauthorized content generation, no matter if it is another human being writing the content or if it is an AI that produces unauthorized content. So the production of academic work in whole or part for academic credit progression or award, whether or not a payment or other favor is involved, using unapproved or undeclared human or technological assistance is unauthorized content generations. So this is kind of an umbrella term that incorporates both contract cheating and AI written misconduct or AI produced content. And we have had many different tools that have been developing during the last couple of years. One of these tools are different types of paraphrasing tools that students nowadays can use in order to try to hide that they have been using someone else's text. So in order to try to fool Turnitin or original or other text matching software, they would either manually change words to synonyms in order to hide it, or use paraphrasing tools such as this one. As you can see here, we have had some changes here. We have shown, we have demonstrated that even a few weeks delay, that even a brief delay of a few weeks. So some small changes, because text matching software like Turnitin will not recognize it's not the same text. The text doesn't match, and if they are good enough, this text can pass as students' own text. In the beginning, a couple of years ago, these paraphrasing tools could be quite hilarious because they changed a bit too much. So big data became colossal information, artificial intelligence became counterfeit consciousness, etc. So it became quite funny with these so-called tortured phrases where too many concepts were translated into different synonyms. But they are getting better and better. So they don't do this anymore as frequently, at least, as they used to do it. But during a certain period of time, it was quite funny to see these texts, and then you could find that students have been using these paraphrasing tools because suddenly, you know, breast cancer became bosom peril, etc. And then, of course, for many years now, we have had problems with contract cheating, and it is a term defined by Thomas Lancaster and Robin Clark in 2006. It's basically when students get others to complete their coursework for them by outsourcing it, so someone else writes that. And it can be on a rather large scale. In some areas, you can almost have sort of essay mills, like a factory for writing essays. And especially in English, it's a quite lucrative business, but it exists in other smaller languages such as Swedish as well. This is coming from one of these websites where they claim to have the finest writers online, but it is 100% plagiarism-free writing from scratch, and you can get 100% satisfaction guarantee. Some students could, for instance, get blackmailed if they don't pay enough. So I always mention that as one of the things why they shouldn't use it. And of course, why are they letting something or someone else write a text? Because they don't learn anything by outsourcing. But this is a discussion we need to have with our students, and this is something that still exists. However, these contract cheaters might get out of the job soon. It's still many students have been using it. As you can see here, how many students use essay meals, it is about 3.5% from different meta studies. And if they use it several times. But as I say, they might get out of the job, of course, now when AI can write content for students, so students can outsource their writing to the AI. So here is a picture of ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is a large language model. It is not the only one large language model on the market, but it is quite a big one. So large language models are systems that are trained to statistically predict word, character, or sentence sequences in a given context. They have been around since 1980s. They're used for machine translation, such as Google Translate, for automatic speech recognition, for document classifications. And these data sets, they have become larger and larger and larger. So this ChatGPT that was released on November 30th in 2022, and suddenly everyone was shocked and realized something like this exists. It's based on GPT-3. It's owned by the company called OpenAI, and Microsoft owns 49% of that company. But as I said, it was based on GPT-3, which means there has been GPT-1, 2, and 3 for a couple of years around. So for 5 years, we have had GPT. And I can assure you that we have had students that have been using AI for writing their content even before November 30th. It's just that it's much more user-friendly integration now, so it's easier to use it, and it has exploded. But I'm certain that some students have been using it for a while. So GPT-3 is trained, 7% of the data set are languages other than English, which means it is multilingual. But we still have a situation where 90% of all languages used by 1 billion people have no language technology support. So these systems, large language models, will widen technological inequality between global north and global south, for instance. And the technology is based on the data from the internet, which means that it perpetuates dominant views and it encodes bias, and it can harm marginalized groups. It also is a big cost for the environment, because if you build these large data sets, they require a lot of energy, which contributes to climate change, and which also affects mostly people that do not benefit from these large language models. GPT that OpenAI has produced has been trained ethically, and some words were filtered out, but it itself may further marginalize some groups and enlarge inequality. And since March 23, there is GPT-4, which is based on even larger data set, and it didn't have really as good ethical training, so it doesn't filter everything, and it's easily tested. You can ask it to give you some jokes on subjects that you might think might be unethical. While GPT-3 stops it, GPT-4 is happy to provide you that kind of jokes. So here is a text written by GPT-3. What are the limitations of these type of things, I asked, and use of GPT in writing academic texts. And I asked it to write me 100 words, and I got this text. Well, ChatGPT has the ability to generate coherent and grammatically correct text. There are several limitations to its use for writing academic text. Firstly, ChatGPT lacks the domain-specific knowledge and expertise required to produce content that is accurate and well-researched, etc., etc. As you can see, it's quite coherent, quite well text. It's also quite general. There are no examples, there are no references to the current context. But you can continue asking it more and more. And depending on how you provide your question, you can get better answers. And it is not just once, you can continue this communication, you can have a dialogue, which will make your answers better and better. However, GPT is based on the data until 2021, so it does not have current things that has happened after 21 in it. And it can also, it's a statistical model, which means that it is not looking for things on the internet. It is not like Google, where you go and ask and it searches what is on the web. This is a statistical model, so it basically thinks this word fits after this word for some reason, based on what kind of property you have and based on the statistics that is inside. Which means when you ask for references, it will not go to the internet and check the references and check the papers. It will just see after this word fits. And then you will have these fake, overly general references, sometimes total hallucinations that do not exist. So for now, when you get your students' text, check the references. Are all references there? Do they exist? That can be one clue if they have been using AI. However, this is only when it comes to ChatGPT. There are many other AI tools, and the focus since November 30th, it has been too much on ChatGPT. For me, it's like the past. We are already have been gone many steps after that. There are many other AI tools that are connected to the internet. So here's one of them, Perplexity. There are many others. And I asked it to write me the limitations of using large language models in academic writing. And as you can see, I asked also for some references. I got references. These references exist. However, they're not references to articles, scientific articles. These are just references to texts on the internet. Microsoft, that owns 49% of AI, has integrated GPT to Bing, which is their Google, you can say it. And you can also ask questions. Of course, it is connected to the internet. It functions in the same way as Google, and you will get references here. Once again, not references to scientific texts. You can see here another of these tools, GPT Go. It's basically ChatGPT that is combined with Google search. So you get not only the links that we are used to get, you also get a text which explains instead of you going. So it's like creating your personalized Wikipedia for that particular question you have asked. Google came last week with 25 new AI applications. They are going to connect Google with AI large language model called Bard, and of course they have Google Scholar. So I assume we don't have Bard yet in Europe, so I couldn't check, but I assume that it's going to be connected to Google Scholar, which means that we are going to be able to get proper references. They have also integrated AI in their Google Docs and Excel, etc., in the same way that Microsoft has, but in their case, it's called Copilot, but it works basically on the same way. What does it mean? That AI is coming to our office, no matter if you use Microsoft Office or if you use Google 365 or whatever it's called, Google Docs. It means when you're writing text in your Word, you will get AI to propose you what to write next. It means when you use Excel, AI will be able to analyze your data and provide you with diagrams. You don't have to do it yourself. You can ask PowerPoint to create you a presentation based on the AI without much work. Outlook will be able to create emails for you. When you use Teams, AI will be able to provide you with the minutes and also with a to-do list who has promised to do what. And in Google Photos, you will be able to delete unpleasant things in your background, etc. So it's like really, really enormous. So we are going from presentations, from text to visuals. We are going to text to video and audio. So you'll be able to describe basically a film in a text, and it will be created. Also, photos are created based on the prompts. You describe what you want to get a picture of, and you get it. So this is really huge, and that's why I'm saying ChatGPT is just one drop in the ocean. Here is a website called Futurepedia, which is a directory of AI tools. It is updated daily, and you can find 2,600 and something AI tools there, and they're divided in different categories. So you can get a tool for whatever you want to do. If you want to create a logo, if you want to code, if you want to copyright, whatever you want to do, you will find an AI tool there. And it is updated daily, and it's high-rocketing. Every time I look at it, there are many more new AI tools. So is it possible to detect AI written texts with technical solutions? First of all, text matching software such as our original and Turnitin do not detect AI written texts because it is an original writing, it's original content, it's not something that has been on the internet before. New applications are launched, such as Crossplay and OpenAI and Turnitin. So AI, we are trying to develop AI that is going to detect AI written text. They do not work very well. We are currently in the ENI, in one of our working groups, we are writing a paper and testing different detectors. I can tell you that I would not use any of these detectors as a proof that students have been using AI in their writing, because there are quite a few false positives and false negatives, which means that AI written tool can be marked as something that human has written, but even the opposite, which is even worse. Your student writing can be marked as an AI written content, which means you could accuse your student for using AI when they actually have not. Some of these AI providers have been talking about providing their AI content with some sort of a watermark, which would make the detection easier. For instance, you know, like every second word, every fifth word starts with S or something like that. But this is something that can be washed away by these paraphrasing software that I have been showing you in the beginning, or other AI problems. There will be other AI providers that will not offer something like this. Due to the context cheating, there has been quite a lot of research on stilometry, which means that people were trying to get technological solution that would check student writing and compare it if this writing that student has produced now is written in the same style as the previous writing, but we are not there yet. It's not working properly yet. So the answer is no. It's not fully reliable to detect AI written text with technological solution. And the question is now, if this is not such a big paradigm change, that we will be forced to have new definitions and to make new views of what plagiarism, for instance, is. Sarah Lane Eaton from University of Calgary calls it post-plagiarism. She basically thinks that we will separate areas for writing, so we will use AI for mundane writing, such as emails and administrative texts, and then we will simply still write poetry by ourselves because we get something from it. Or that it will be much more common to write together with AI. So you are basically using parts of the AI, then you write yourself, and then you see what other part is good, etc., etc. So as I said, AI is going to be everywhere. So the solution is not to ban it. It's basically, it won't be possible. It will be part of a Google. It will be part of the Office. It's unrealistical that it will be possible to ban, although some schools and institutions tried to do it. That's like the first reaction everyone had. Let's ban it. Our students will not be allowed to use it. But that's not a good solution because it's not possible. It's not going to work. But what we need to think again is how we assess our students. Is this home take exam, is this written exam the best way to assess if student has reached the learning outcomes we have for this particular course? And we might want to focus more on the formative assessment instead of having this big, large summative assessment at the end of a course. We might want to think it for asking students to create a role play might be better to perform something than to write a text. It might be a good idea to ask students to use their individual experiences and contexts to write the text because it motivates them, but also it will be harder to cheat on that. And you can also ask them to use details that have happened in the classroom in their assessment, because that's also something that AI will not have access to. But don't think of AI just as a bad thing. As I said, it can be used ethically as well. It can help students to learn. AI is very, very good to explain to you hard concepts like you are a 10-year-old. And as we don't have enough time with our students always, it's a good idea to use AI just to explain further so students can ask over and over again and get answers in a way teachers can never give them. It can also provide students with individual exercises. If they lack knowledge in something, AI can actually create exercises for them to get better. It can be a help for teacher to create individual exercises for students, or to create texts, or to help teachers to create lesson plans, etc. So there are many ideas that's how teachers can get their lives a bit easier by using the AI. I think it's very important to discuss the benefits and limitations of AI with students. I usually compare it with driving a car. Technology is not always better. You can get from A to B much faster if you drive a car, but if you run, you will get a better help. The same with writing. Explain to them why we want them to write academic text, because it enhances their cognitive abilities. So if they use technology, they will miss that. That's why we want them to write, because they will think better, they will learn better. So technology is not always beneficial. It is faster, but it's not always what we want. But this is going to be really something that affects the job market. So we need to prepare students and embed AI in the curriculum. We can't ignore it. What will be more and more important are generic competencies, especially those that we in humanities are very good at: academic literacy, critical thinking, argumentation analysis, and of course, reference management. So I usually compare it with Google Translate. If you are just using Google Translate to translate text, it will not be a good translation. But if you're a good translator, then you can use Google Translate to, pick from here and put it in your text, and then, oh, I like this, and put it in your text. So it can make you a better translator. The same with writing. If you're just copy pasting, you will not get really good writing. But if you're writing your text, you can use AI to become a better writer. But also, if you just copy paste, it will be, you will get used to these mediocre texts. So it depends on how you use it, basically. And that's why it is really important to discuss with students when it can be used and how to state that it has been used. As I said, we have developed recommendations on the ethical use of AI, and I'm going to go through them. First of all, we discuss what should be acknowledged, and we say that ideas and content, so all persons, sources, tools that influence the ideas or generate the content should be properly acknowledged. So when an AI tool is used, it should be acknowledged. Form of acknowledgement may differ between different disciplines, but we have that already. We reference things in different way. But if possible, prompts should be provided. I always tell my students that if they want to use AI, they need to screenshot the prompt and what the AI has provided, and so I can see it afterwards. However, appropriate use of services, sources, and tools that only influence the form is generally acceptable. So proofreaders, proofreading tools, spell checkers, thesaurus, Grammarly. Perhaps I think that everyone who doesn't have English as their mother tongue is using it nowadays. It basically is leveling the field for us that do not have English as our mother tongue. When it comes to responsibility, it's very important to acknowledge that the outputs of AI tools can include biased, inaccurate, or incorrect content, and students should be aware of. So we need to discuss this with our students. Responsibility is not on the AI tool nor the provider, it is only on the human user. So we are the responsible for the text. In January, it was quite a lot of discussion if AI should be acknowledged as a co-author. And generally, the answer is no. AI can't simply take responsibility for the content and findings reported. So the person that is writing the text and using AI is responsible for the content, whether or not it was generated by AI. Both students and teachers need education. We need to discuss with our students the purpose of activities related to learning and assessment and why they should develop and write their individual and group work assignments. And we need to educate them how to develop their ethical writing and content production skills. When it comes to teacher, we need to teach teachers. We are on the same level of students. This is really enormous because we usually so much more knowledgeable than our students, but here we are at the same level. So teachers also must receive training on ethical use of AI and how to develop relevant learning outcomes, learning activities and assessment strategies so that AI can be used in an ethical way. We also in our recommendations recommend development of national guidelines that should provide overreaching advice on what institutions should include in their policies, and then that we have institutional policies that should divide default rules on allowed use of AI, but also that you might want to have the space basically for specific rules at the course level, so that even if it's not generally allowed, I can, as a teacher, allow it in a certain way on my courses. And then all of that should be clearly communicated to all stakeholders and guide users how to correctly and transparently acknowledge the use of AI tools in assignment or dissertation, etc. So summary statement that we have that this brings significant change to education, and it extends and enhances human abilities, that it might be used in positive but also in a negative way. So we urge national policymakers and institutions and all individual members of the academic community to seek ways on the ethical use of AI and share best practices in order to benefit from the opportunities that AI brings to education and science. So just a couple of more words about the ENI. So I'm not going to commercial. The purpose of ENI, we are called the European Network for Academic Integrity, but actually we have even members in your country, University of Wollongong in Dubai. The purpose and across the world, basically. But our purpose is to support higher education institutions to work together in the field of academic integrity, and we have 45 at least members. I think we even have more. So we are trying to provide a platform for academics across all sectors to investigate, exchange, develop, collaborate, and access resources. We want to offer opportunities for researchers to collaborate. We'd like to present best practices, how to do things, and make available a central point of reference when it comes to academic integrity. We organize conferences, workshops, monthly webinars, and other events. It's a great network if you want to collaborate and pursue related research, collaborate towards research. And we also have awards that we give every year. You can find more information on our web portal, academicintegrity.eu. You can find educational materials, guidelines. You can sign for newsletter that we send every 2 months. We're on Facebook and Twitter. Yeah, you can have other activities, the access to other activities. You can also join one of our working groups. As you can see, we have a long list of different working groups. A special mention of addressing unauthorized content generation because I'm ahead of that group. So welcome to join us as members as well. You would be part of this large network, and it also shows that your institution are taking academic integrity seriously. AI here is academic integrity. You can elect the board, you can influence the network, and you can cheaper come to our events. You can organize conferences, you can access consultants and experts, yeah, as members you can have legal entities, and you can also support us as individual. You can just fill in the application form if you would like to become a member, and then it's approved by the board and payment of a membership fee, which is quite not that big. You can, even if you're not a member, you can use for free all our educational material. It's quite extensive. It's on our website under all materials. And last but not least, I would like to just give you a couple of more words about the project that I'm coordinating, Bridging Integrity in Higher Education, Business and Society, where we are trying to build bridges between academic integrity and research integrity, business ethics and citizen science ethics, and have master and doctoral students and their supervisor as a target group. Within that project, we have developed checklists for citizen science ethics, for business ethics, guidelines, open educational resources, gamified cases, workshops, and webinars. Here are the checklists I wanted to highlight a bit special. Especially, there's a checklist for basically ethical writing in the academia, for the academic and research integrity. And there are 3 different checklists, one for supervisors, one for doctoral and one for master students. Basically, it's just a checklist, so you don't miss anything while if you're a student or a supervisor when it comes to ethics and writing. We also have a couple of games. You can see here our board game for integrity. It's a brilliant conversation starter. We also have many other types of games. For instance, you can see here a game on fabrication that is basically a PDF that you can play with your students, and many other games. We are also creating modules promoting integrity in authorship and publication, one of them, but also academic integrity and artificial intelligence is on the way. On Thursday, we have our second Multiplier Bridge event. It's an international conference on integrity in higher education, business and society. You're very welcome to join us and to register to this conference. It will be a full day with presentations, including a very interesting presentation from the MENA region, from a brilliant project that's developed by, that is coordinated by Jihad Mahul from American University in Beirut. So come and listen. This is organized by Kherson National Technological University in Ukraine and Uppsala University. Reason we have it online, of course, is that we can't join our colleagues in the Ukraine because of the war. And also our next ENI conference, European Conference on Ethics and Integrity in Academia, is in Derby in July. You're very welcome to join us there as well. And here is my contact email. You can find the Bridge project on the ENI website under VP Bridge. We are on Twitter and Facebook, and ENI website is academicintegrity.eu. So now I think we have some time for the questions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sonja. And if everybody's like me in the audience, we have so much to learn, and we thank you so much for everything you've shared, and also for all the resources that hopefully we're going to be able to delve into as we go forward. We've got a couple of questions in the Q&A, some that you've addressed a little bit, but we'll just go over those. So the first one is from our colleague Jane, who asks about the opinion on AI detectors, about is there any reliability associated with them? And yeah, there's a question about if it says that there's 76% could be AI, the student denies it. What do educators do in that sort of case?
Well, I would not use them as a foolproof, because it's not like we are so used with the text matching software such as Turnitin, but this is not as reliable. So sorry, yes, probably. What you could do is basically ask questions about the text and have an oral assessment as well. And in that case, if they have learned something, if they can answer your questions, does it really matter if the content was written by AI? Because apparently they have a knowledge. And if they don't have the knowledge, that they don't know. But I think I would be very cautious in using it as any kind of proof.
Okay. And you've said to us checking references is really important as well.
Yes, too. Right now, but this is just a temporary thing. I think that it's going to be very soon. I mean, as soon as we have BARD, they will have Google Scholar. Students will be able to prompt, write me about this using Google Scholar, reference to Google articles that are in Google Scholar. And then you will get real. Okay. So I don't think it's reliable either.
No, we just have to keep listening and learning. So a colleague also asked about something that you alluded to about language, because, you know, they're saying that large language models, the text comes from the internet. So do you see a problem in academia in other languages like Arabic, if there's less content in that language or the internet? Is there, you know, a way of using that to avoid, or checking plagiarism, I guess, through translation? Yeah.
Well, as I said, 7% is trained on languages other than English. I haven't tried Arabic because I do not speak Arabic, but I've tried in some other languages like Croatian, Serbian, Bosnian, etc. And it works, but it seems to go back to English and then translate back to me. So you have to check how it is used. It can be used as a translation tool as well. It can help you summarize things. It can proofread text. So it's working. If you had problems with people using translation as a way of plagiarism, this is even larger things happening with the text.
Yeah, more capable of doing that.
It's much
accurately.
Bigger.
Yeah, okay. And the other thing you talked about was ethical training of GPT-3.
Yeah.
Can you just expand on what does that mean, or who's responsible for that, and how does that work?
Yeah. Well, OpenAI had people basically sitting and double checking the output and then deciding that some things are unethical to talk about in order to prevent people using AI to create, for instance, racistic or racist tools or something like that. So that's one of these things. That's why some things are filtered out. Also,
understood. And why some biases are perpetuated, I imagine, as well too.
Well, once I asked one of these tools to create me a presentation on usage of AI in education, in higher education, and I got, like, in 10 seconds, there's an application, so I use it, and in 10 seconds I got a presentation, eight slides with text, with pictures, And all of these pictures in that particular time, it hasn't repeated, but that particular time, they presented teachers in higher education. All of them were white men.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's a bias.
Yeah, so that's the way that it can perpetuate biases. Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, understood.
Because it is trained on the data that is biased. Because as a humanity, we have biased data.
Yeah, understood. So, you know, your audience tonight is coming very much from the medical education background. And I just wondered if you have any suggestions. My colleague is asking about embedding and incorporating AI into the medical curriculum.
Well, as I said, it's quite knowledgeable in many ways. You can use it, for instance, to create material for your students, multiple choice questions. You need, of course, to check them, but you can ask AI, write me 10 multiple choice questions on obstetrician or something in medicine, whatever, something hard that I don't understand. And then you will get like 10 multiple choice questions with 4 answers. It will mark you the right answer. 5 of them will be okay, 5 of them will not be okay. You delete those 5, you use these 5. Then you ask me, okay, give me 10 more. So you can add enormous amount of multiple choice questions that can be used for your students. So that type of thing I think is really good. And it can also be used as further explanatory tool for your students if they don't understand something.
Okay, yep, understood. And like you said about practicing various things like communication skills, I've seen AI use for that. Yeah. So another audience member has asked if usage of AI is authorized, how about citing the technology to maintain the academic integrity? So what's your advice on that, Dr. Sonja?
Yes, I think definitely it needs to be cited, and that we need to be transparent when it was used. There are different suggestions currently, but if you go to for instance, if you use APA standard, go to their website, see what advice they are giving you on how to cite AI tools.
Okay, so yeah, we can find those in the various different citation styles. Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Is artificial intelligence able to access statistical software tools and provide an accurate result if data is given to it? Can it then write the article as well too?
Yeah, we are getting there. The problem is it can also hallucinate things. Someone told me the other day that they put numbers, but there were empty fields, and then it hallucinated information in it. So it's not always correct, but we are getting there. I mean, it's going to be statistical software tools, but it will be incorporated in Excel. Excel can be used for statistics. Is it accurate? Well, it's going to be better and better. But if you have empty spaces, it can happen also that it hallucinates. So you will need to double check everything, I think. So far. Can it then write the article? Yeah, you will be able to have AI that helps you find text, summarize text, etc. So yeah, give you ideas what to put in that article. So it can do quite a lot. Okay,
but like you say, hallucination exists, and so very important to not put your name to anything that you haven't really agreed or checked or made sure is current knowledge. That's important. So one of our other audience members asks, do you think chatbots are just a refined form of a Google search?
It's much bigger. It's much Google search is very too simple compared to this. This is much more huge,
much more refined.
Yes, and it's not, I mean, most of the things I was talking about, like ChatGPT, it's not even connected, it's not searching anything. But Google search is going to use AI in their search. So instead of just giving you the list of tools, it will summarize the tools. You will be able to explain what you want to find instead of just getting a long list of links, and you will get an answer.
Yeah. One of my colleagues is asking, could we use AI for student admission interviews?
Well, students are going to use it to prepare for interviews and write you good letters.
Yeah, so but could we use it actually to interview them?
To give you questions?
I guess we could do that, to give us questions, yeah. But I guess, you know, people are doing virtual interviews for jobs now, aren't they? So can AI, according to some sort of criteria, assess those interviews as well too?
Would you really do it that way? I don't know, but I'm not certain if it would be possible. If there is AI for that, probably. But I don't think that perhaps is the best idea to give people jobs based or admissions based on AI tools. You would perhaps like to see that person as well.
Like the human factor is still very important.
Yes.
Oh, Dr. Sonja, you've given us so much to think about, and sincerely appreciate all your incredible expertise and experience, and particularly, you know, with the NI network, you know, working on all these important guidelines to support us as academics going forward. So thank you everybody for your questions.
Dr. Susan, I think we have someone raised hands, so if we can give him, can you please speak, Mr. Muhammad?
Sorry.
In 30 seconds. You can unmute yourself, Muhammad.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you. Please ask your question.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. Network is poor now. What?
Okay, so
Hello.
if you have, yes, we can hear you, Mr. Muhammad. So maybe you have technical issues with your mic. You can write your questions directly to Dr. Sonja, so because we are closing now. Thank you so much.
Go ahead, Dr. Ashar.
Yes, please. Can you close?
Yeah. So yes, as Dr. has said, if there's more questions, Dr. Sonja has kindly given us her email address and has said that she's happy to talk with people and to continue the conversation. So I'd really like to thank Dr. Sonja on everyone's behalf for accepting our invitation and for an excellent and really valuable presentation. I'd also like to thank all of those who made this webinar possible, the management of our college and of the UAE University, the organisational and technical team, Professor Michael Griffiner, Mr. Al-Sajjah, Dr. Ifat, Dr. Azhar, Mr. Amanu, Mr. Ismail, Ms. Bayan, Ms. Khadija Al-Balushi, and Ms. Mariam Al-Nayadi, as well as Dr. Saif and Dr. Jazla. And thank you to our esteemed audience for your participation in the webinar. The link for the evaluation of the webinar has been placed in the chat, so make sure to fill that out to get your certificate. The next webinar will be on Tuesday, June 20th, 2023, about energising communities to promote healthier and happy lives, and will be presented by World Health Organization expert Professor Glenn Laverett. Please follow on IPH social media accounts at UAEU-IPH for more information, and you can find recordings of all webinars hosted by the Institute of Public Health on their YouTube channel, Institute of Public Health-CMHS. We look forward to seeing you all again. Keep well, stay safe, and goodbye. Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.